So, this is what I'm talking about today. Bitcoin is energy. And this is my thesis that Bitcoin is energy, not just because it uses energy, but because it's a store of energy and all the energy going into mining for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and the whole blockchain itself is the only way that we can preserve or store energy. But people are going beyond that. People are actually using electricity to offset clean energy emissions and also to generate clean energy credits. In addition to that, the electric companies are catching on that they can utilize um, Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin miners to offset electricity that they're already grounded today. Um, I think Riot blockchain, which is a Bitcoin mining company, they've invested billions and probably millions, but close to billions in mining infrastructure, computer systems to produce Bitcoin, to create new Bitcoin, to operate the Bitcoin network. These companies are smart. And with what's happening in Texas, there's been this major heat wave in Texas where people have to run their electricity all day, all night. There's not enough electricity to go around because they, of course, they don't want to produce more electricity. There's actually ability to produce more electricity, but the whole process of creating electricity is not something you can flip on and flip off, and we've got to maintain the integrity and the reliability of the electric grid. So, what electric companies often do is they contact operators or businesses or people who use lots of electricity during certain hours of the day and request if they can switch their time of use, the time they're producing and using electricity, to a time when everybody else is not. Like if you were to run your computer systems between midnight and 6 a.m., you would get favorable electric rates in places like California, Texas, where there's this great demand for a lot of electricity during the hot months where in winter or fall or spring, maybe everyone's not running their air conditioners, but in the summer you have uh, people, when they leave home, they're not turning off their electricity and they're not turning off their air conditioners because when they come back, they want it nice and cool. Maybe they have pets at home. They have to keep their air conditioning running, but they don't do that year round. So you have a stress on the electric grid that causes like the electric utilities to decide that they're going to basically, the like for example in Texas, the Electric Reliability Council, they came out with emergency procedures which require companies that don't have to stay on to shut off their systems and not use electricity, like hospitals, schools, and things that keep society going. They need to stay online, but things like blockchain, data centers, mining facility, Bitcoin mining facilities, those use of electricity, that load or that demand can be shifted to another time or even to another place in the world. You can shift, you can't pick up and move a hospital to a cooler climate. So because some need, according to the the systems that or the councils of energy that decide how much energy output and how they're going to manage supply versus demand when it comes to energy, they force a lot of companies to basically shut off their system, to shut down, to reduce their demand for electricity during this heat wave. And it just came out that uh, is it Riot blockchain and Marathon Digital, they run huge mining facilities in Texas. And guess what, folks? It is here. I've been telling you this for a long time. Electric producers, electric companies, utility providers are now seeing the benefit of Bitcoin, because when they're not using a lot of electricity in the middle of summer, then Bitcoin can use that excess electricity that it produced. But in the summer, when everyone wants to run their electric compressors to produce cool energy, their air conditioners, those Bitcoin miners can go offline. But that's not it. Wait, folks, they get paid to shut down. Instead of getting an electric bill or instead of losing out on mining Bitcoin, they're actually getting paid to shut down their miners, to shut down their demand, to lock up and go home. They get a big fat check. This is the major thing. I'm reading this news that just came out in Texas. Texas, they're paying people to shut off their mining machines. They're paying people to use no electricity to do Bitcoin mining. And so guess what, folks? Those mining companies are getting a big fat check to not mine Bitcoin. You know, if anything, the fact that an electric utility is paying a mining company to shut down during peak hours when there's excess demand for electricity, that just gives legitimacy to Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and cryptocurrency and the whole blockchain movement. You know, you hear all these crazy things about Bitcoin and is it this, is it that, is it whatever. That's not the point, folks. We have here announcement that an electric company is paying Bitcoin miners to shut down their mining. If this isn't legitimacy for the whole crypto mining, the whole Bitcoin, you're waiting for the ETFs and the BlackRock ETFs and the Kathy Wood and all those things. You're looking at Bitcoin only in the financial sense. I want you to start thinking of Bitcoin in the energy sense, in the electricity sense, in the utility sense, and what that means for society as a whole. Now, Bitcoin mining is being used to offset electricity, whether they're overproducing or underproducing. Bitcoin mining is something you can switch based on electric demand in other areas of the economy. So when other areas of the economy demands a lot of electricity, you can shift your load from Bitcoin mining and get paid for that. I don't know how much you're getting paid per kilowatt hour, but I'm sure it's a very handsome payment to shut down your systems, all the costs that it would cost you to have to shut down your business, all the revenue you would be losing. I'm sure they're getting compensated for all of that. You've got to find out what's going on. You've got to learn what's happening with energy and Bitcoin. It looks like these guys, BlackRock, they're getting, not BlackRock, Riot blockchain, they're getting so much money. They're getting paid so much money. I don't think they've actually revealed how much they are getting paid to shut down their mining equipment and to basically send that energy to supply people to cool down their houses. It's an amazing development, and I wanted to bring you that news tonight. It's basically such a big, this is big for Bitcoin. You might not realize how big it is for the price of Bitcoin. We've seen a upward price movement up nearly 2% in the Bitcoin pricing. I don't know if it's attributed to the marathon digital Bitcoin payments that they're getting from Texas or the Riot blockchain payments, but this is major. I'm reading here a news report that came out, I guess, in Bloomberg or one of those big news outlets, talking about how basically Marathon revealed that 1,072 Bitcoin they had mined in August, only 9% drop from their July mining, but they've been compensated for the electricity that they would have used or the cost of shutting down their facilities. This is an exuberant news. I'm excited about it because you know that my topic is always about Bitcoin and energy. I'm the only one just narrowing in on that topic. I'm not a trader. I can't tell you what to buy, when to buy, where the price of Bitcoin is going to go. But what I'm trying to say to you is now we have legitimacy in Bitcoin from the fact that the electric companies are paying Bitcoin miners to offset their use of electricity and paying them handsomely to do so. Another major thing that I wanted to touch on is the fact that Amazon is down in El Salvador. They're not just down there creating jobs. What they're down there doing is they're using the clean energy, the geothermal energy, they're using the hydroelectric energy and electricity to set up their data centers. NVIDIA powered computers, computer chip powering computers, clean energy. This is only good for Bitcoin. It's good for Bitcoin mining because Amazon and also Google Cloud, they provide space. They provide what you call the data center, the computers that run the Bitcoin. And a lot of people don't necessarily need to go and invest in their own um, computers and data centers. They can basically buy space and data space and um, all the computer development that they need to run Bitcoin. They can run those in a data center. So they can rent space from a place like Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud to run their data, their Bitcoin mining. And these companies, they provide data to all the hospitals. Everybody who's using the cloud is either using Amazon Web Services or they're using Google Cloud. Apple is its own cloud. I don't know if Apple is also getting third-party data center support from Amazon and Google, but those are the two big players. Amazon doesn't necessarily make all its money from shipping you all the little trinkets you buy online. They make so much more money in building data centers and providing computer space. A lot of websites no longer run in a little what do you call it, CPU or a little computer in a back office. All of this, banks, all systems. That's why you can all your apps on your phone, those are all running in the cloud. And who's providing that cloud service? Those computers that are actually running the systems that you're logging into. You're not doing it on your phone. You're just basically wormholing into one of these data centers provided by Google or Amazon. So as you go down that wormhole to access your data in the cloud, you're getting a certain amount of space. And that is hosted somewhere. It's not in the cloud, folks. It's at a computer in one of the Amazon facilities and one of the Google facilities. And those two companies, Amazon and Google, have developed or are building facilities in places like El Salvador. Why? It comes back to energy. It all boils down to energy. Bitcoin boils down to energy, whether it's storing energy in the blockchain, maintaining the value of energy, sequestering energy that could not be used for other purposes. All the power plants that have excess energy, they can divert that excess energy into Bitcoin mining facilities and mining operations. Basically, you could have windmills and solar panels, clean energy, supplying Bitcoin miners with kilowatt hours to run their operations. And that's what's happening down in El Salvador. Google Cloud, Amazon Web Service, AWS, they're setting up, or they have set up facilities in a place like El Salvador because of energy, because energy is cheap in El Salvador. Plus, I'm going to talk about it in another video, the two value proposition for creating energy. As you generate electricity at a power plant, say for example you're using coal fire to burn water, to make steam, to create electricity, that creates emissions. The coal you're burning to create electricity creates emissions, and that power company would have to buy clean energy credits to offset every kilowatt they produce. So when you're using coal and oil or gas in some cases to make electricity, you're putting emissions in the atmosphere. You see those plume of smoke coming up from the power plants, that's emissions. It's going into the atmosphere. Now that electric company or that utility has to pay the price for the emissions that they're putting in the atmosphere. Kind of like when you go to change your oil, you have to pay for the old oil that you're getting rid of, and you have to pay for the new oil that you're putting in. So the electric company has to pay for the waste. So what they do is they buy something called clean energy credits from somewhere else. So a place that's generating electricity using geothermal energy or using hydroelectric, that's the wheel spinning in the water, and that's creating electricity. That's what's happening in El Salvador. So they're creating not just electricity in kilowatts, they're creating two products that's highly desirable and highly tradable commodities. That's electricity, and also clean energy credits, which they sell to another electric company that's polluting the environment. So a non-polluting energy company creating electricity with clean energy is generating clean energy credits, which they sell to another guy who's polluting the environment. Now, what's happening is companies like Amazon and Google, who use a lot of electricity for their data centers and their cloud services, they use a lot of electricity to keep hundreds and millions of computer centers and data centers running and operational. They use a lot of energy. None of this happens without energy. The fact that we're talking on YouTube, across the internet, that takes electricity. And every kilowatt of energy that they're using, they have to pay for the electricity, plus they have to pay for the pollution. What if they could find a place where they're getting clean energy? Now, instead of paying for pollution, they get paid for not polluting, because now they're generating two products, both electricity and both clean energy credits. That's how it works in the power industry. Every kilowatt hour comes with two faces, either pollution or a clean energy credit. So you're either paying to make the electricity, which you're already paying for the oil and the gas, but you're paying on top of that for the pollutions and the emissions that you're emitting into the atmosphere. Here comes El Salvador inviting people and corporations like Google and Amazon to set up their cloud and data centers in El Salvador, where El Salvador is producing clean energy credits plus electricity. Now, here's the third element. Wait, folks, this is big. This is bigger than everything. Now we're generating a third element, because that kilowatt hour, that electricity you're getting in your electricity, that energy, once it's utilized, say for example you're using it to make spin cotton. Someone is growing cotton and they got to spin that into threads and fabrics. It uses a lot of electricity to spin those machines and create the threads and make and weave the cotton, so we can have beautiful fabrics like what you're wearing. That whole process of manufacturing and creating a product, creating a commodity. To make sugar, you have a sugar factory. They got the sugar cane, they got to juice it, that takes electricity. Now they got to mix it, they got to make all the processes leading up from the sugar cane to get to the factory, to get to making sugar, to package it, to deliver it and selling it worldwide, or whatever it is you're producing. All that electricity is utilized. The cost of the electricity goes into the product, of course. But here's another thing. The third element of the electric production is now that energy is wasted when you produce anything else. But with Bitcoin, the energy used to create the Bitcoin, to run the Bitcoin mining computer, creates a third commodity, and that's the storage of the electricity. So if you're using 2 kilowatts a day in your Bitcoin mining, you're actually generating three products. You're generating clean energy credits if you're using geothermal, you're generating kilowatt hours, but you're also storing all of those kilowatts on the Bitcoin blockchain. So now you have three products that you're commoditizing, and now you can monetize that. So once you commoditize the energy used in generating your Bitcoins, you commoditize that amount of energy. Now the cost of, and what if you got paid not just only to create the Bitcoin, but also you got paid for the energy? Electric companies are catching on to this third value, this third commodity that they can cash in on, and it's running Bitcoin. So in the past, I've talked to you about the fact that when factories or homes or whatever systems turn off their production, that energy is still going to that building. When you're away from home and you turn off the lights, that electricity is still coming in. You're not using the light, but that electricity is still coming in. And so what happens is it's being grounded because you can't store it anywhere. So what happens is it gets grounded, and once it gets grounded, it's lost. It's a waste. You're still paying for it, but it's wasted. What if you could be running Bitcoin while everything else is turned off to capture that third commodity, which is the value of the energy used is stored in the blockchain, not just as a Bitcoin, but as kilowatt hours, as energy, storing the energy, locking in that value that you would have otherwise spent or otherwise grounded. That's the third commodity that electric companies are catching on. And so that's why they're willing to pay Bitcoin mining companies like Riot Blockchain and Marathon Digital Holdings to stop mining and just store and just sell that energy back to the grid that they would have been using to mine, so that other people can use it in this heat wave like they're doing down in Texas. It's so wonderful to talk with you about these critical developments in blockchain and in Bitcoin, because I've always been talking to everyone and saying Bitcoin is energy, and people are investing millions not only in producing and supporting the Bitcoin and blockchain network, but also catching on to the cost and the value of storing that energy in the blockchain as Bitcoin and also as kilowatt hours. That's the biggest news. If you want to know what the biggest news is today, is the validity of Bitcoin, because electric companies are willing to pay Bitcoin miners not just to use the energy to mine Bitcoin, but also to maintain reliability on the electric grid. There's no other product, there's no other commodity, no other process besides the blockchain and the Bitcoin network and other cryptocurrency networks that can add value to the existing kilowatt hour generation. There's nothing else. I mean, we talk about clean energy credits, we talk about the actual electricity that's being generated. Now we have the store of energy. Those kilowatt hours can be locked into Bitcoin. So whether you're turning off your computers from not mining Bitcoin when energy is in demand in other places and you're getting paid for that, that value goes into the blockchain, or you're using energy that would otherwise be grounded when producers or manufacturers or processes are going offline and not using electricity, that electricity would have been wasted. This is big, this is major, this is going to it's gravitating up to the surface, and it's going to start changing the way people look at Bitcoin. It's not just money, it's not just currency, it's not just an asset, it's not just a store of value, it's a store of energy. And it's generating a whole new commodity in clean energy credits, in kilowatts, and also in Bitcoins. Thank you for tuning in. This is Charlene, the Crypto Queen, publisher of Tokens Magazine. Check out all my videos. I know I've been banned everywhere, but if you can find me anywhere, you'll hear me talking about Bitcoin is energy. Google, Amazon, Riot Blockchain, Marathon Digital. Big news today, September 7, 2023. See you next time as we bring you what really matters, the critical moments in the Bitcoin evolution and adoption, brought to you by Charlene, the Crypto Queen.